Hello everybody and welcome to your tutorial for Chapter 1 on inputting data into SPSS. Now most of you won't actually be doing this as our surveys are electronic and the data will be added automatically by the survey hosting site. It's still important to know how this works so that you know how your data or what your data is when you get it downloaded from the site. Tedious exercise, yes. Important, yes. So I encourage you to read the chapter. It does give you a good bits of information, but this tutorial will just focus on how to actually do the homework assignment. Alright, so what I have here are two response sheets, which can be interpreted as to mean two surveys that I handed out that have come back to me, or two questionnaires that I've handed out and have come back to me with the following responses. I have this one here, ID number. This is just in some survey designs, you assign people ID numbers so that you can follow them throughout time. You guys won't have ID numbers on yours, but again, this is just an exercise. The day of the class they are taking, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday. The class time, just by morning or afternoon. You ask them if they're a morning person, yes or no, what the grade was, and ask them if they worked outside of school. Okay, and here's the responses. This person, their class is Tuesday, Thursday, afternoons. No, they're not a morning person. They got a solid B, and they don't work outside of school. All right, so response sheet 2 is interpreted the same way. And our goal for this assignment is to take this and enter it into a statistical software package so that we can analyze it. So the first step in that, if we scroll down, is to list the variables. We have ID, day of class, class time, whether or not they're a morning person, their final grade, and whether or not they work. Okay, so the first step of all of this is to go into SPSS and define these variables. Sounds harder than it is. So what we'll do is we'll go to our start menu. And I have 21 on my machine. You guys may have different versions of it. It doesn't really matter. This will all look pretty much the same. And you wait for the hamster to run around the wheel. There we are. A painful delay ensues. Alright, here we are. It'll come up to this page. I recommend just hitting cancel. It can run you through some kinds of assisted database wizard stuff or what have you, but I think it's a lot simpler. Just hit cancel and come to this page. Now the default is to put you in something. This is the variable view where it brings you to. Now there's two of them down here. See these two tabs? Variable view. This will list your variables, and over here will actually list your data, with the variables being the column headings and the rows being each person. So we're going to go with our variable view first. We have variables we want to list in. Okay, our first one is going to be ID, and we'll fill out the rest of this stuff later. We'll just go ahead and punch these in first. ID. Now the names there's some important conventions. You can't have spaces, and the first character has to be an actual letter. It can't be a question mark or something like that. So I'm going to go day underscore of underscore class. That's okay. Class underscore time. Remember, no spaces. I'm going to call this morning grade and work. Okay. Now this is the basic outline. Now there's a few things we still need to fill in to properly define these measures. Now this first column here, it says type. Now we're going to leave it as numeric for a variety of reasons, but primarily because the data that we're actually going to input will be numbers, even though, as you probably noticed, there are words associated with them. We'll show you how to get around that. There are a few options here. Let me click on it. If you click on the box, you'll see this little gray one pop up. You can click on it, It gives you all these options: commas, dots, scientific notation, dates, currency, string. That's for if they're words, and on it goes. We're going to stick with numeric. Width, don't worry, that's auto-generated. Just leave that alone. Decimals, it defaults to 2. It doesn't hurt anything. I would just leave it as opposed to actually wanting to do anything with it. Now, label. Here's where we're actually going to be able to do something. Now, label, here's where you're actually just telling yourself what these variables mean. So the ID, just identification code. That's all it is. And again, you can have spaces here because it's not an actual variable name. It's just a label. It's for your benefit. All the statistics will run without these labels. It just makes the output that much more clear and readable when you actually get it. And label here, day of class. See again, you don't need to use the underscores. Class time, morning, person or not, final grade, and employment status. That's what I'm going to go with. All right. So here's the part where it takes a little bit more thinking. The values over here, for ID, we don't need to define anything. ID is just a random number that corresponds to a person, much like a jersey on a football player, their number. So we don't need to tell ourselves or let ourselves know what those numbers mean. We know what it means. But now day of class is a little bit different. Let's go back to our Word document. You can see here there are 2 different days of class: Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday. Now if we go here, we look and we see, if we go to the data view, if we were to enter it in just as Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday, we wouldn't be able to do much with it. What we need to do is come up with a set of values that are numeric, that have the actual days themselves attached to them. I'm going to see if I can make that happen for us. So you click on values, you get that little gray box. Alright, so there's 2 different times of day, or 2 different days that these can happen: Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday. So our first group will be 1. That's going to be our Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And we're going to label it as such: Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Okay, click add. Now our other ones, Tuesday, Thursday, we'll call them 2. Let's go to TTH. Now the number 1 and 2 I picked are actually kind of arbitrary. I could pick 47 and 51 if I wanted to, because this is a nominal level measure, so it doesn't really matter. 1 and 2 are better to use here just to keep things sane, but the actual number itself doesn't particularly matter. We're not going to be adding this up at any point, or multiplying it, or dividing it, or doing anything like that. So, but that said, you'll see why you want to put the value with the labels on there. So we're going to do this for each one. Oops, I didn't save it, did I? Alright, 1, we get to see it again. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Add. 2. Tuesday, Thursday. Add. Okay, there we go. Now class time. We have the option of morning and afternoon, right? So value 1 could be morning. Click add. Value 2, afternoon. Okay. Now this next one, we're going to go a little bit different convention here, because the question really asks, this one here, morning, asks, are you a morning person? Yes, no. And when you have this kind of yes, no question here, your best bet's to go with 0s and 1s. So for a person who is a morning person, right? So they say value is 1, label is morning person, and label 0 not morning person. So 1 is the presence of the characteristic, and 0 is the absence of it. Click OK. Now the grade, we don't have to do anything there. That's the number, so we'll leave that be. Employment status, we have work. Now this one has 3 possible responses, right? They can be not working, they can be part-time, or they can be full-time. Now you have some options here. I myself would go with a 1, 2, 3 convention, although you could go 0, 1, 2 if you wanted. But we'll go ahead and go with 1 is full-time. Actually, let's do this. 1 will be not working. Oops, that's a nor. I want not. 2 is part-time. And 3 is full-time. Now, the only thing I really did here is I made sure they were ordered from least work to more work. You want to make sure your data is arranged that way as well. Again, it just makes it easier to interpret later on. Alright, so you hit OK. And you have your variables identified. Now, one thing that should be noted is that we do not have our actual data entered. So in order to do that, we have to go to the data view. And you'll see here the columns ID, day of class, class time, morning, grade, work. Okay. Now you actually have to go through and enter it. So response sheet 1, the ID number is 4593. Now, day of class. Remember we said Monday, Wednesday, Friday was 1, Tuesday, Thursday is 2. Now, on this sheet of paper, they marked Tuesday, Thursday. So, here, we're going to enter a 2. Class time. Remember that was morning or afternoon. 1 or 2. Excuse me. So, we're going to enter a 2. Now this one asks if they're a morning person. Yes or no. They answered no. Now remember we did this a little bit differently with a 1 and a 0. So we're going to click 0 there because they're not a morning person. Their final grade at the class, you can do this 0.85 or 85. I'm going to go with 85. I like whole numbers better than decimals. And this person, they work. No, they don't work. So, according to our conventions from our labeling, we'll say that's 1. So what we've done here is we've entered the data for person 1, person number 4593. The day of class is a 2, class time is a 2, morning is 0, grade is 85, work is 1, and that's it. Let's go to the next one. This is person number 1901. Now this day of class, that's a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, which we said is a 1. Class time is the morning, which we said is a 1. Asked them if they're a morning person, they said yes. 1. This person got an 83. And asked if they work outside of the home, they work part-time. So according to the way we did it, it would be a 2. And on it goes for all of the surveys. That's how the data is entered. So what we're left with is a data set with 2 cases, person 1 and person 2. There's their ID numbers. Here's whether they, what day their classes are, what their class times are, whether or not they're morning people, what their grades were, and what their work status is. Now, just by way of introducing you to some of these buttons up top, you can go to Analyze. And here's where all the statistical tests are located. And you can go to Descriptives. And Descriptives, what I want is the average score. Now it's only 2, so we know what the average is going to be, but I just want to show you how it's done. So in order to get a mean, you go Descriptive Statistics to Descriptive Statistics. Say that 10 times fast. The variable we're interested in is final grade. You click OK. And you get this, your output. N is 2, it's 2 people. The lowest grade was an 83, the highest was an 85, that averages out to an 84. And look, they calculated the standard deviation for you. Pretty neat, huh? Now, to show you some of the other labels we can do is descriptives and frequencies. And we put everything in here but the final grade. Why is that? Because final grade is an interval level measure, and you don't do frequencies on interval level measures. The rest of these are all either nominal or ordinal, depending on how you want to slice it. Either way, you run frequencies on them. So day of class, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 person. Tuesday, Thursday, 1 person. And you see how it goes. Class time, morning, afternoon. Morning, not morning person, morning person. You can see all the little statistics that have been calculated. So by following these steps, you can go from this to actual results, like so. Pretty neat. A little tedious, no doubt about it, but that is how it's done. Now I'm going to outline the homework in the actual assignment page, but what you're going to do is essentially do what we just did here. You're going to start with these 2 that we just did. You're going to add a few more. You're going to calculate the descriptive statistics for them. I want this chart here. Remember, it's descriptives, put in the final grade, and hit OK. All right? So that's your tutorial on how to enter data and how to get a mean. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. I will be happy to answer them just as quickly as I can. All right, you guys. Happy statting.